当我们不同意对方的时候，通常我们都会有点害怕那种尴尬的感觉，或者担心自己可能会不太礼貌，或者是显得不太专业。所以我今天跟 Nick 会来教大家 How to disagree with someone's SOP。Hello， 欢迎来到商业英语 Career Plus 的 Podcast。在这边，我们利用多年国际职场与教学经验，带给大家最真实与贴切的职场英语知识。Hi, I'm Sherry, founder of Executive Plus. As a language trainer and certified coach, I've trained hundreds of managers from Fortune 500 companies such as Dior, Google, and Deloitte & Touche.
And I'm Nick, Director of Communication Strategy at Presentality.I've helped startups raise millions of US dollars in funding and trained executives of publicly listed companies to present on the global stage.
欢迎来到我们 Episode 11。那在上一次我们教大家该怎么样用不同的方式去表达你的意见或表示你同意，然后呢也让你的 agreement 跟你的 action 能够连贯在一起。那我们今天想带给大家也就是比较稍微 uncomfortable 一点的，就是你要怎么样去 disagree 人家，那你这个 disagreement 你要怎么样让它也有一些价值，或者是还是能够让这个 conversation 能够延续下去。 So Nick, what do you think about disagreeing with someone? Are you comfortable doing that or no?
I don't think anyone's really comfortable with disagreeing, depending on your relationship, right? With you, I'm happy to disagree all the time.
Oh my God, I'm so lucky.
But with, newer people or clients, you always have that hesitation. Do you disagree, or how do you disagree effectively? And as you said, with agreement, it was about not just agreeing and being a suck-up, but for us, agreeing was about, moving on to the conversation, asking follow-up questions, or creating action out of it, right? And disagreement's the same, but disagreement is even more difficult because you have two options. Either you can move on to action or solutions, or you can move on to a fight.
Oh, that's very tricky. Yeah, so disagree with someone 只有两个出路啦。第一个就是你真的能够到一个非常有 value 很有价值的 action， 要不然就是吵架。
Yeah, and this is because it's like most often when you disagree with someone,and you don't have something that you can do together or something that they can do to solve the problem, then it just sounds like you're complaining and whining, and this is where the other person starts to get defensive, like, so what do I do now? What do you mean that's not okay?
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's something that, when I hear disagreement, that's the first thing it popped in my head is, okay, so what should I do to fix this? What should I do to resolve this? Yeah.
Right. So disagreement is difficult in any language, but one of the reasons we really want to hit upon this in English is you're looking at a cultural issue too, right? The easiest way to avoid all this is just don't disagree, or don't disagree to someone's face, right? Send them an email and kind of avoid it. But for most Americans, I won't say all Westerners, but specifically Americans, is we want that outward disagreement. We want that conversation, that back and forth, because if you disagree with me and you don't tell me, I have no opportunity to fix it or improve or change, right? And so we actually hate it more when someone just kind of presses that down and then it comes out later.
Yeah, honestly, I think this is just an etiquette for international business, really. It's more of a, this is because honestly, everyone's so busy, right? The business moving forward, everything is moving every day. It's not stopping for you. So we might as well actually just say it and allow the time for us to really fix the problems.
Yeah, and this becomes an interesting, when you're doing international business, it becomes an interesting cross-cultural issue. Because I feel a lot of Asian cultures, Taiwanese, especially Japanese, tend to be a lot less confrontational. And so when it comes to disagreeing or comes to saying no, they don't really want to do it very directly. In English, we have a phrase is no news is good news. Meaning is if someone is not openly disagreeing with you or telling you no, it must be okay. Maybe they're not thrilled about it, but you can do it. But a lot of times in Taiwan, no news means no. Like if I don't disagree with you outwardly, but I don't agree with you, then probably I don't like it.
所以刚刚那个讲到一点我觉得非常的重要，就是当你站在这个国际市场的时候，你在面对很多文化差异或者是语言差异的时候，你会发现有一些状况，就是有些人他并不会跟你讲说他同意或者是他不同意，他都是微笑然后点点头然后就带过了，可能他自己心中也在 battle， 就说我不太确定怎么讲，我怕我讲的不正确，所以他宁可就是不讲，或者就是 avoid 这个，他就不想要去面对这个状况。但是有的时候对我们来讲，就算我们可能是主管或者是我们是 staff， 不管可能我们的 team member 他是在别的国家，碰到这种情况的时候，通常都还是要小心一点，就是当他就算他没有表达，并不代表说他没有意见，或者是也不代表说他真的是同意。
Right. So the motivation and the purpose behind this episode is to give people a easier way, kind of some guidelines and phrases they can use to disagree so that, again, you have a good conversation and potentially avoid the fight.
So today it's more about teaching you guys some starting phrases, right? Easy starting phrases to kind of ease into this disagreement conversation, and also a guideline, an SOP.
And the very first sort of guideline for what we're doing here is it's all about showing you're listening to the other side.
Which is the same as agreement.
Yeah, right? we talked about agreement is you don't want to sound like the robot who's just like, yeah, okay. And then you also, for a disagreement, you definitely cannot be the guy who's just like, yeah, no, I don't like that. But you're not really paying attention and engaging in their thought process. So even with your opening phrases for disagreement, it should be along that, like, I hear what you're saying. Or I understand where you're coming from. And really, this is a great time to summarize. Like, I hear what you're saying. You want to say, and then kind of summarize what they've said and check with them. So this is, again, when you're disagreeing, you're not just like, gut reaction, no. You're showing them that you've listened, you're engaging them with the conversation, and then you can start to outline your disagreement.
所以刚刚 Nick 有提到说，其实我们第一个最重要的地方就是你一定要让人家知道说你在听他说话。那这个部分我们就我们就可以做一个 summarization， 也就是一个总结。那刚刚 Nick 有讲到有两种 starting phrases， 也就是 I hear what you're saying， 所以接下来可能你可以做一个very quick summarization， 或者你也可以说 I understand where you're coming from。Right? So you can also have a quick summarization of what they said.
Yeah. And this is really that stage one of the disagreement is you need to outline where the disagreement comes from, but that takes highlighting what they're saying. So it's like, I hear what you're saying, and then you can summarize. And then you can outline your disagreement, where I feel there needs to be improvement, or where I'm not sure that works would be. And then you can summarize where you're coming
from.Okay, I see. 所以第一个步骤也就是其实第一个步骤算是解释你的立场，但是这个解释立场你在前面你一定要先能够说出对方刚刚所讲到的什么话，那这个话为什么你不同意，你的立场在哪里？Okay, right. So that's step one.
So the next step is after you've outlined this disagreement, you actually need to highlight actions that have been taken or the context of what's going on.Which means, here's why I disagree, and here's from my experience, or here's the work that I have done that has led me to my disagreement or my conclusion. It can't just be like, well, that idea sucks, right? Even if the idea sucks, telling someone that's not going to work. But if you go, I'm not sure that way will work because in the past we have tried these things, or the numbers from last quarter are this,
so...Okay. So step 2, 第二个步骤就是当然就是去解释 你的原因，为什么你 disagree？ 那你这个原因呢，你当然就要可以讲说你做过了什么动作啊，或者是你可能去年的数字是怎么样，这个时候就是你 give your reasons, why you actually disagree with the statement.
Right. And then the last step that you need to take is to give suggestions or solutions about what you can do next. Anytime that you disagree, another big potential place for the fight is just like, fix it. I don't like it. It's not good. Try again. This always leaves the other side with just feeling like, what do
helpless.
You mean? Yeah. If they really did their job well. Like, we're ignoring the people who, didn't do their work or were lazy. But if they did their job really well, or they put effort, genuine effort into their job, and you're like, it's not good enough, fix it. They may not have an idea of where to begin, or they may just feel despair.
I see. Yeah, so I think the last step is really important because I think at the same time, would you agree that you could also offer help and support, right?
Right.
Yeah. 所以最后一个部分，其实我们就是你可以提供你的意见或一些解决的方案，或者你可以直接提供你的 help。Right, just be supportive. 所以这个部分呢，当然我觉得我 personally 我觉得是我觉得最重要的一个重点，也就是当你提供人家解决的方案或者提供一些 suggestion 的时候，你才有办法让对方可以做一些改变，或者是做一些resolve 这个 issue, right?
Right. So this is really the process. It's just 3 simple steps. 1, you outline that disagreement by saying, I've heard what you've said, and summarize it. And talk about the place that you disagree. Step 2 is you highlight the actions or the experience you have that have led you to this conclusion. And step 3 is just give concrete suggestions or sort of directions and help them to get back to what you need to move forward.
所以我们现在提供给大家2个不同的 example， 因为我刚刚知道大家也听了我们的 SOP 嘛，那也大概知道说该怎么样开启这个话题，那我们就利用刚刚所讲的 step 1, 2, 3， 我们提供给大家2个不同的 examples. Okay? So example number 1, let's say we are disagreeing on a method of execution, right? So someone said that you should do it this way. Right. And I don't agree with it. What should I say?
So if you don't agree with it, it may be something related to, say, the technical expertise of your team. Let's say you're the HR department and someone is telling you to add a tech solution. This may cause an issue for you because, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not sure your way of executing the project is suitable for my team. We've tried what you mentioned a few different times, but our team just doesn't have the technical expertise to get the result that you're talking about. I'm wondering if you could provide some other forms of solution that are not so technical, or if you have a teammate that would be willing to train and walk my team through it.
All right. So 我觉得这个 disagreement 其实听起来它会变成一种 collaborative.Right? It doesn't sound like you're disagreeing with someone. It sounds like, I'm asking for help. I don't, the way that you mentioned, it's not something that I am comfortable with, and here are the reasons. And I was wondering if you could help me, right? For other kind of solutions or suggestions.
Yeah. And this is a lot better way to phrase it. Like you said, it comes out a little bit more collaborative. It's more about, could you help me or could we work on this together? I'm not like, do we look like computer people? What are you trying to do here? Keep your geek mumbo jumbo to yourself, right? That's the fight.
So now, example number 2. Let's say we are disagreeing on which supplier to use. Okay, so I'm sure this happens a lot, right? So we got supplier A or B. So we're going to talk about how do we disagree. Let's say, someone wants a supplier A and I definitely want supplier B. So right. How do you
that always happens, like someone has incentives or maybe you have just a bad experience with them. So really having that discussion about suppliers is important, and rather than me going, your supplier sucks, I'm not interested. I mean, how would you do that kindly and collaboratively?
I'm going to use another phrase to start. So I understand where you're coming from, but I had some bad experiences with the supplier A, and they're more expensive, yet they don't offer the same quality of service as supplier B. Would it be okay if we can try out supplier B for a few months just to see?
And that last part is key from the standpoint is you didn't just go drop supplier A. Like, we're done with that. Supplier B is the way to go. But you're making a suggestion that allows for conversation. Would it be okay if we tried out supplier B for a few months, right? Can we get a trial period? And a lot of times when you're doing disagreement, creating an atmosphere of being able to go back and forth. Again, there may be some things that you don't want to bend on, but at least making the other person feel like they can engage in that conversation with you. Can we try it out? Can we do a comparison? If I don't want to do something a certain way, then giving a clear deadline. Be like, I understand your way, and I know that that's what's comfortable for you, but for the next week, can we try something different? Or for the next month, can we try something different? And give someone that feeling of safety, right? Like, oh, you disagree with me, but you're willing to put a hard deadline on how we can check whether one of us is right or not.
So really give them an options, right? Yeah. 给人家多一点选择，而不是一个 just dead, like 一条死路。Just give them more options.
And this is always that part about making someone feel that they're engaged in your disagreement as opposed to just either complaining or telling them what to do. And honestly, for managers talking to people that they're supervising or people below them, this is even more important. A lot of people get in that habit as, I'm a manager, what I say goes, and this is how we do it. But that also means that if you're wrong, people may not tell you to face you're wrong, but they will kind of start to resent or start to question your own leadership ability. So by being able to better engage with people, have better discussions with people, and open that, even though, you're probably the one who has to take responsibility for the decision, giving them a feel like they can openly talking to you about it will give them more respect for your position.
所以如果你是一个主管，那你真的可能要管一个 international team 的时候，其实这种方式我觉得也是一个很好带人的方法嘛。你会给人家多一点选择，我觉得也是等于说会延续你们的 relationship 会更好的，而且这样子其实会让你们对方更信任 right? It has a better trust for each other. Yeah.
Well, we hope that everyone can kind of follow this step-by-step process and have more, well, not more disagreements, but better quality discussions on things that you disagree about.
More effective.
More effective disagreements, yes. Not more fights, more effective disagreements.
All right, I hope you guys enjoy this episode and stay tuned for the quick recap. Alright, 欢迎来到我们的 recap. 那我们刚刚有讲到的 starting phrases 有2种。那第一种就是 I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. And second one, I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from. 那我们刚刚有讲到3个步骤，第一个步骤就是 outline 你的 disagreement， 也就是解释你的立场，你为什么不同意。那这个部分呢，你就是你 summarize 刚刚他们所说的什么话，再连到你的不同意的地方在哪里。那第二个步骤也就是解释你做过了什么动作，或者你的原因，为什么你不同意。那第3也就是提供你的意见或解决方案。So step 1, outline disagreement.Step 2, highlight action have been taken from their or your side. And step 3, give suggestions and potential solutions on the next step. 所以我希望大家 enjoy 我们今天的单元。Stay tuned for the next one. Bye! 如果你喜欢我们的 podcast, 欢迎来追踪我们的主管英文 Executive Plus 的 Facebook。 那也可以写信到我们的信箱yourcareerplus@gmail.com。